Okay, welcome back to another repair video. This is just another water damage. Just had to cut a couple of meters out of this ceiling here. We put new insulation up because the old insulation got a little bit wet, so that's out of there. We've got some fresh insulation. I've actually cut it on these battens halfway so we could still stitch it around the perimeter, and then also we have some outside back blocking as well. So that's pretty much ready to go up. And what we did, we figured out where these were, and then we tapped into sort of halfway and then chalked a line, and then we pretty much just put a sheet up 600 millimeters wide and traced around it. Then we've got our multi Makita drywall cutter, which is there, and we cut around it, and then that's what we have. So that it goes up nicely. Actually got these really big screws. You don't need these screws. We actually use 32 millimeter screws, but the gauge of this is a bit bigger. Normally in Australia we glue as well, but just such a small amount like this, don't really need to glue. So I'll just tap in a few places. And these needle point screws, they still go into this thin metal, so you don't have to worry about that. You don't really need metal tip screws. So I've got a few in there, should hold itself up. Now I'll just finish screwing around the perimeter. When you're screwing, you want to screw it up into it, but don't let it go too far in, but far enough so it doesn't stick out, but not too far. If it goes too far, then it loses its strength. Did as well, I stuck a block over here. There's a little crack there. I stuck a block over there. Once you've done that, go through, and that one's obviously sticking out a little bit, so just wind that in a little bit. All good here. Make sure it's nice and flat. Even sometimes it's good to just cut the edge of the sheet, roll it over a little bit, like that. Because you want it as flat as you can. But that's pretty good. Now we're ready to tape in. Let's go mix the mud. I've got my trusty bucket glove. Such a time saver, this one. Very easy to clean out. I used this yesterday. Got corner cement in it. It just pops out like that. And you just wipe it out. Back when I first started this job, I used to have to bang the buckets out because I'd never get around to cleaning it straight away. I'm using corner cement. Now I'm mixing up enough to do 2 coats. There's a few different tapes that you can use as well. Here's just your regular paper tape, which works fine, good for internals, that sort of thing. But if you're just starting out, very easy to get a bubble underneath if there's not mud consistently underneath the tape. And you got this fiber fuse, you never get a bubble with this, and the mud can kind of push through. It's very strong, It's very thin and flat as well. And this is called Fiber Fuser Max. I'm pretty sure they named it after me, but I'm not too sure about that. But it's thicker as well, more mesh. It is a little bit thicker. So we're just going to use this one today. It's important to start with a bit of water already in there. It's going to be way too much, but anyway. You don't want to mix it dry and then have to add water later as well. Just mix it gradually. I use this because it goes off really fast. It's very strong as well. And it's a good brand. Really predictable when it goes off. And it goes off slowly so you know how much time you have left. Okay, that's ready. One more trick up our sleeve to do this fast and to make money is we have this plaster accelerator. If you don't have this, just use salt. I used salt for many years. And I finally got this, and I've been using the same bag for so long. This bag will do my whole career. So what you want to do is take enough what you need to do the first taping coat out. That's bad enough for taping and pre-filling. Then you get a bit of this. Doesn't really matter how much, the more you use, the faster it's going to go off. You don't want to get it into your fresh mix. That's going to sit there for 20 minutes while this is drying. That's plenty. We'll walk that inside and we'll mix it up in there. Now we'll mix it up. Once you mix this, you got to be pretty quick because it will start to work straight away. And you don't want to struggle putting it on. Try and mix it up thoroughly. Works really good. This will be ready to coat in 10 minutes. And the stuff that's remaining in the bucket is still good for another 20 minutes. So what I like to do with these, go through, remember we've already scraped it all down, so it should be ready to go. Get a bit of mud. Fill up all the cracks. You want to actually try and push it in there. Okay, and join those shapes, not just on the outside. Pushing it in. Alright, once that's done, I'm going to start here. If you could, you just do the whole lot. That'll do. I've said it so many times before, if your mud's kind of like that and you put paper on, it will bubble. But using fiber fuse, you can get away with a lot more. Try not to handle this too much, it can be spiky. You want to get it half on, half over. It's okay if it's a little bit off. It doesn't matter too much. You can put the excess back on there. Line it up again. Half on. It'll hold itself up as well. Gently and neatly cut it out. You don't want to overlap it too much because then it just builds up. But if it does overlap a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Nice and flat. What you need to do afterwards, I'll just go around, make sure it's all bedded. Then I like to go through, and I just call this glazing the turkey. nice and flat. That's really good. That's really good. Super happy with that. We're going to let that dry a little bit. We did have that crack there, so I'll just cover that up. I did reach up and put a block behind that and then stitch it up. What I mean by stitching is screw either side of it, so that'll hold that together. And then again, I'll just glaze that Thanksgiving turkey. Glaze that turkey. Alright, now you got about 10 minutes and then you can go over it again. What we're gonna do is we're gonna paint this all today as well, just this ceiling, so we don't have to drive all the way back out here. So we're going to get the heat gun or the hairdryer. We're going to start blowing it between coats so it's not wet when we put it over again. And we just spend a bit of extra time drying it in between coats. Got our mud still here. It's been 20 minutes and this is still nice and pliable. Well, the stuff that we added the accelerant to up there, it's pretty well dry. We just start keeping the mud away from it. Go through, pat it all down. Got bits like this here. Just gonna take those bits off. You don't want them to show through. Pretty happy with that. It's a bit of a stretch. Now what I'll do, I'll just pretty much load up everywhere and then go through and take it off. You don't want it to start drying out because it makes every process harder and it won't be as smooth. Alright, that's pretty good. Just take any bits and then I just carefully, with my blade angled, just take that edge. Then I'll take the inside edge. And then I can just go through, flatten it out again. Alright, I'm really happy with that. Okay, that's great. Now we're going to quickly just start heat gunning it again. We're going to get this as dry as we can, so when we put the top coat on we don't have too much moisture over the top. Okay, if you have a look now, it's nice and dry. I've also scraped it all back, so there's nothing that is going to get in the way. This is top coat. This is pre-mixed. This is what you can sand. You don't want to try and do this repair with like a multi-purpose mud, because you'll be there forever trying to make it dry and it won't be as strong as well. Nice smooth mix. It can be a little bit runny, so be careful it doesn't run off your hawk. Sands really well, so you need to remember that you can always make it pretty good in the sanding process. Okay. Now the fan's pushing me away. I know so far I'll be able to sand everything out. I'll fix that up. don't mind having a little crest in the middle, so that'll stand out. You just don't really want big edges. Okay, that is pretty much it. Make sure you've got everything. Make sure the edges are feathered. And that's good. We're gonna get on a heat gun now and heat gun that. We're gonna have that dry in about half an hour for non-stop drying with the hairdryer. Thanks to this fan and my heat gun, and with these windows open and it's a really hot day, I was able to dry this top coat in just about an hour. It's totally dry. It's really good. You want to make sure you dry the coats underneath before you put this on, because you're just going to delay it. You don't want any moisture in there at all when you go to paint over it. So I don't really recommend this unless you know what you're doing. Actually, if you paint it too soon, the next day you'll see the paper tracks. So, but we use corner cement as well, so that kind of eliminates that because it doesn't shrink back. So I'll give you a quick demo of how to sand, and then you'll see we'll paint over it, and then we'll be out of here. We'll get it done in 1 day instead of 2 days, so we can go and do another job tomorrow. So when you're starting to sand, everything's nice and flat. You start with the edges, and you just want to blend these edges in. Alright, see that's blended. So like these lines here, there's no step. And then same with the edge. Right along the edge. Okay, so now we've got our edges all good. Now it's just a little bit in the middle, and now the middle should be really good already, but you got to give it a little buff up. And you feel this area, that feels really good. Run your hand over everything, a bit more there. You don't want to sand too much out. And that's about it. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to do that same method around everywhere. Sanding the edge, and then a little bit in the middle, and then go through and feel it all. Make sure you've got everything. And that's it. That's how to do this patch. And stay tuned. We're going to paint this up in about 10 minutes after I've sanded this. Okay, now everything's sanded. Beautiful. It's all checked. Once you put paint on it, it's harder to go back. And we've got some undercoat right here. And we're just going to undercoat the patch area. Another little tip is when you got fresh plaster like here, don't leave your roller sitting on that. You pull it off, it'll actually pull some plaster off. It'll almost burn the surface. So you really want to lube quickly with it. that is it. I'll show you when we're finished everything. Once we put another 2 coats on the ceiling, it's all cut in already, so we're just really waiting to roll this out a couple times. Still drying up. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you learned something, how to make money doing this job, plastering and painting, because it saved us from coming back tomorrow to sand and to paint, and now we can go do another job. So in the same amount of time we can earn so much more just by doing it, being a little bit smarter. Half the time we just do that and we come back, so we have 2 short days. So 2023, I'm really trying to push it to the limits. Thank you very much. See you next time.